MTSS, literacy and self-efficacy, and school leadership. So currently I work at the district level in the New York City Public Schools, supporting about 19 different schools with all things literacy and assessment and MTSS.
Wonderful, thank you. Dr. Beth Corbo. Oh, and I know Dr. Corbo is having some internet. Go ahead.
Yes, so I hope I don't freeze in some very unflattering pose. But I'm Beth Corbo. I'm zooming in from tonight, actually from Cincinnati. And I've had the honor of teaching at the Mount in both the graduate and doctoral program for the last years or so. Before that, I spent many years as a classroom teacher, most of those years with Cincinnati Public Schools. And my interests lie more on the comprehension end of things, especially with language development. Vocabulary. So welcome all of you. So we're all here tonight.
Great. Thank you, Beth. Dr. Kelly Powell-Smith.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everybody. I'm zooming in from Eugene, Oregon, and I'm faculty at the Mount, and I teach in the graduate and doctoral programs in reading science. And I'm super excited that we have so much interest in the program. In terms of my research interests, they lie in database decision-making, in particular related to MTSS, reading comprehension, spelling, application of single case designs for looking at interventions for students, along those lines.
Wonderful, thank you. Dr. Tambra Eisenberg.
Hello, I'm zooming in from South Williamsport, Pennsylvania, home of the Little League World Series, if you watch that. I have the privilege of helping out with some of the reading science graduate courses, teaching some of those. And I did have the great gift of graduating through the doctorate program with my dissertation focusing on sound spelling walls, and foundational reading skills is really my key area of interest.
Wonderful, thank you. And Dr. Pam Kastner.
Hi, I'm Pam Kastner. I am 1 mile away from Dr. Eisenberg, which is really nice, in South Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I have the honor of serving as an adjunct, a contributing faculty member in the graduate and doctoral program at MSJ. And my research interests are writing, spelling, which is my middle name, everyone knows, and phonemic awareness. I recently have failed retirement as I just retired from Patton, the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, in August as State Lead for Literacy. So very honored to fail retirement with MSJ.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right, so now I'll introduce some of our current students, and I'll start with those who are working on their dissertations right now. And so they're in cohort 2. So Tiffany, can I have you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Tiffany Seaman, zooming in from Kansas City on the Kansas side. I always get asked that question. So yes, I'm in cohort 2. I'm currently an instructor in teacher preparation here at a local university. So learning a lot about how that goes. And I'm currently implementing my dissertation work related to family advocacy and enhancing collaboration between home and school. So happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see, Mercedes. I have to remember which people are in which cohorts now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mercedes. I am zooming in from Brooklyn, New York. I am a kindergarten dual language teacher, and my dissertation is all the things that I'm interested in one big bubble, which is multilingual learners and preschoolers and language comprehension.
Wonderful. Great. And let's see, I think that's all of our game changers. So let's go to cohort 3, the Mavens. Donnie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Donnie Hale, and I'm zooming in from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a speech pathologist, and my interests lie also, like Mercedes, with the preschool population. So preparing those little itty bitties for their language and literacy development.
Wonderful. Thank you. Sarah.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sarah Martin. I am zooming in from West Virginia right now, but I am actually out of the Northern Virginia area. And my research interests lie in spelling and early childhood as well.
Thanks. All right. And I think that was, oh, sorry, Nicole Flores.
Hi everybody. My name is Nicole Flores. I am zooming in from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I am in cohort 3, a very proud Maven. So my research interests lie in English language learners, translanguaging, and language in general with the early learners, like pre-K through 2.
Wonderful, thank you. And then now our newest cohort, cohort 4, the Freedom Fighters. Jim, can I have you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I am Jim Addison. I am zooming in from a really small town in Wisconsin. I serve as a literacy leadership coach at a state-based agency in Wisconsin called CISA 3. And I've got a little time before my dissertation, but I have heavy interest in MTSS.
And Michaela.
Hi, I'm Michaela Osier, and I'm zooming in from Kansas. I work at Pittsburgh State University, and research interest kind of the same as Jim. Not quite fully there yet, but definitely something with dyslexia, early identification, and prevention.
Great, thank you all. All right, so I wanted to take some time to introduce our fabulous faculty and amazing students because throughout the presentation, I'll have kind of stopping points where I will we'll open it up to questions to them because I think, I know you're here to get information about the program, but I think more than anything, you're probably here to get to know us. And what better way to get to know us from our faculty and from our current students? That's what we have found to be most helpful as people are making decisions about which doctoral program to go to. So as I said, my name is Amy Murdoch, and I am I'm trying to open up my presentation as I'm trying to introduce myself. I am the program director and also a professor in the program. My research interests are early intervention and preschool, and I have an open source preschool curriculum that I've spent a lot of time researching and working on. And then also it is built within an MTSS framework. So I'm very interested in MTSS and early intervention, and particularly multi-language learners, and how do we support that population of children. So, all right, so let us get started. Let me make sure I can play this in presenter mode. There it goes. All right. So first thing to know is our website. If you haven't already visited our website, our webpage, we have lots of great information that will be helpful for you as you are filling out your application. So this webinar, we really want to talk about our program, the quality of our program, the faculty, and then some components and format. Then we will get into the application process, talk about costs, and our favorite thing to talk about, the really generous, amazing scholarships that we now have in our program that hopefully remove some barriers so that anyone interested can apply and consider our program. So our faculty, we have 6 full-time doctoral faculty and 3 part-time doctoral faculty. So you have a lot of people you get to work with. Dr. Anita Archer is not formally part of our faculty, but she actually does teach a course with me in the program, and she's a good friend of ours and attends our Summer Institute. And I know she's a highlight for many of our students in terms of coming to the Summer Institute, which we'll talk about in a moment. But people you haven't heard from yet, Dr. Jane Ashby, Dr. Dana Russell-Frodenthal. Dana is a new faculty member with us, and Jane has been with us for a couple of years. They both come from a psychology background. Then we have Dr. Jennifer Keeler. She is a speech language pathologist. You got to meet Kelly. This is our dean, Dr. Laura Saylor, who also does co-teach a class with us and is a great supporter of our program. Dr. Stephanie Stoller is a part-time faculty with us and does a lot of work in the area of MTSS. Dr. Richard Sparks is actually a faculty emeritus with us, and he often comes during the Summer Institute. And then you met our other faculty. We are excited to say that we have 3 cohorts currently in the program. So cohort 4 are Freedom Fighters who just started last May. And then cohort 3 are Mavens, and then cohort 2 are Game Changers. So we have these little tight, names for our cohorts. They come up with their names. The only cohort we gave the name to is our our first cohort are Trailblazers, who graduated this past May. So we named them, and then everybody liked the idea of having a name. So each cohort takes great care, I feel like. There's lots of discussion, and there's some voting and some polls and discussion groups, and I don't know, some overthinking that happens with creating their name. And I don't know if you can tell behind Jim, each cohort also takes some great care in creating swag around their name. So Jim has a really cool Freedom Fighters, plaque that he made that we just love. So anyway, that's lots of fun. So the good news for those of you considering our program is we have had a cohort go all the way through the program. So now we can tell you the full story of the program. And so, I always joked with cohort 2 that it was good to be cohort 2. And then cohort 3, I was like, it is really good to be cohort 3. And cohort 4, it's even better because, as you're building a new program, there's things that you're figuring out. And so we feel like, especially by cohort 3, we made a lot of changes from cohort 1 and 2, helping us know what was needed to support our students. And so cohort 3 actually even made a shirt that says it's good to be cohort 3 because we know it is. And it'll be even better to be cohort 5 because we are a relatively new program. So that's something to know about us. But luckily, we now have gone through the full cycle for one full group of students, and our second cohort, our game changers, will be graduating this May, which we're very excited about. And I'm also excited to tell you, because this doesn't happen in every doctoral program. Cohort 1 had 19 students at the beginning, and 19 will finish. One student did have to delay her dissertation because of a family health emergency. But we had 18 people who began their dissertation and completed it. And as I said, the 19th will complete it this year. So we are very happy to say that we have a high success rate with our program. And the Game Changers cohort 2 is following that same pattern, which we're excited about. So first, let's talk about who's eligible to join our program. We are fully online during the school year. We do have a 1-week on-campus requirement, our summer institute. But as you heard, our students are across the country, and they all come to Cincinnati in the summer for a week, which is a really kind of a magical week of learning and hopefully some fun as well. So you can be in any part of the country to join our program. We do have a openness to be able to accept students from Canada as well. Unfortunately, we are not able to accept residents in other countries. I really wish we could, because we get this question a lot, but as a small university, the regulations with doing work outside of the United States or Canada, it's just complicated and costly. So unfortunately, right now, at least, our university is not able to take that on. We hope in the future that might be a possibility, but right now it's residents of Canada and the United States that we can accept. We have had a student from Canada before. I get that question a lot. And she really wants another student from Canada. So if you're from Canada, you would make Una very happy if we get another student from Canada. Una was one of our Trailblazers. She graduated last May. So one of the things that's really important to us is our mission. We feel very passionate, and I bet you'll hear that when our students start talking as well, about why we are doing this work. So the mission of Mount St. Joseph Reading Science Program is close to all of our hearts. And it really is to make sure that all children have access to the best literacy instruction possible. And we want to do that in the doctoral program by making sure our educational leaders are prepared to both lead those systems change work in their districts, in their states, as well as train the next generation of teachers so that they know how to teach reading correctly from the beginning, and they don't have to have years in the profession where they feel like they have failed children, because that is just heartbreaking for those teachers. And so we want to make sure teachers are well prepared and that our systems are well prepared. And we feel the best way to do that is to prepare our leaders to be able to do that work. So we really are in this to affect social justice and making sure our systems are set up to support all children. because we know it's very possible, right? We know we have the research, we have the information. It's about the implementation and how do we make sure that that's happening for our children. So we're in the doctoral program, we're all about educational professors and leaders. So one of the reasons we started this program is because we heard from our students in our graduate program. So we've had a graduate program for about 16 years in the science of reading. And we kept hearing from our graduate students, people who were in the field teaching for a number of years, that they were never taught how to teach reading. And so they would come to our graduate program and say, oh my goodness, why didn't I learn this in my teacher prep program? You know, I wasn't trained this way. And so we want to train in our doctoral program the people who will become the professors and the superintendents or the literacy leaders in their state and districts, train teachers how to teach reading the correct way. So at the doctoral level, we're very focused on leadership and systems change. And then our graduate program is all focused on how to teach reading. And so that's something to know, because I know sometimes people come to these information sessions and they're not sure if they should start in the graduate program or if they should start in the doctoral program. And so our doctoral program really picks up where our graduate program leaves off. Our graduate program in the science of reading is all about how do you teach reading, all components of reading, you know, assessment, all of the pieces of the how. And then our doctoral program is really about how do you change the system and how do you do research and disseminate research and those kinds of things. So that's one piece to kind of know about our two different programs that we have at the Mount. A couple things around program quality. So our program, in terms of building the doctoral program, takes quite a while to build a doctoral program in terms of getting the approvals necessary. So we went through a really rigorous 2-year process for creating the program and submitting it to a variety of different institutions or committees, both at Mount St. Joseph, as well as in the state of Ohio, and then ultimately at the Higher Learning Commission in order to get approval. So we are a fully accredited doctoral program. We were fully accredited before we started our first cohort. I get that question sometimes. We did not use our first cohort to get accredited. We were accredited beforehand because that happens with some programs, so that's something to know. But we were fully accredited before we began with our first cohort. And then, as I said, we now have 4 cohorts, and we are currently recruiting for our 5th cohort. So the 5th cohort will start in May. Our doctoral program is relatively new, but it is building off of a successful graduate program. And that graduate program, we've been fully online in the graduate program for about 10 years now. And we were at the graduate level, one of the first 9 institutions of higher education that were accredited by the International Dyslexia Association. And we've been a model program for IDA for a number of years. So at our graduate program level, we do have IDA accreditation. IDA doesn't really accredit doctoral programs, but again, it builds off of that good work. And the other thing I like to kind of brag about Mount St. Joseph is, you know, we are an institution that is dedicated to the science of reading and the science of learning at all levels. So our undergraduate teacher preparation program received an A+ from the National Council for Teacher Quality for the last 2 cycles of the NCTQ review. And we were one of 18 programs in the nation that got that designation at the teacher preparation level. So we were very dedicated to the science of reading for, you know, the last 20 years at the Mount. So doctoral program, let's just talk a little bit about the courses, and then I'll open some questions to our panelists in just a minute. So we always start in May with the doctoral program. So our graduate program, we actually have 6 different cohorts each year. Our doctoral program, we just have 1 cohort each year, and it starts in May. And we accept around 20 students in that cohort. We feel like that's a good size for us to be able to meet our students' needs, and then also to create that community of students, and, you know, having that great expertise sharing through the student cohort. So you start in May, And our program does go across the summer. So you start in the summer, and you can see on this plan, I know the numbers don't necessarily make sense to you yet, but you start in the summer, you do 2 courses in the summer, 2 courses in the fall, 2 courses in the spring, and then you see you do summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. So it's a total of 3 years. Your 3rd year is focused on your dissertation. So that's what Mercedes and Tiffany are working on right now. But it is 3 full years, including your summers. And it's a total of 60 credit hours for the doctoral program, not including any prerequisites. So if you need prerequisites, that's outside of this schedule, which we'll talk about prerequisites in a minute. When we think about our courses, we kind of think of them as 3 different strands. The first strand is leadership and systems change. So that's an important kind of pillar for us within our program. We have 2 courses, or actually now 3 courses that are dedicated to that, but then that's really a strand throughout the coursework as well. And then we have a big set of courses that's dedicated to language, reading, and writing, and then our research and statistics courses, so which includes your dissertation guidance. So we have a set of research and statistics courses up here on the right, and then we have your dissertation guidance that happens as well. So big picture, those are our kind of 3 buckets of coursework. And when we think about the timeline across your 3 years, we think about that first year is really deepening your knowledge and building your leadership skills. So you take coursework connected to those key ideas. In year 2 is when you formally begin your research sequence. You do take some research classes in year 1. Year 2, you are really moving through a research sequence that is dedicating our time and efforts to getting you ready for your dissertation. So currently cohort 3 is in year 2, and we're doing lots of talk around, hey, what are your research interests? What are your topics that you're interested in? And really starting to explore those topics so that you can end year 2 with a strong research idea and proposal that then you can implement in year 3, your dissertation work. So that's, again, strokes, kind of how our program works across the 3 years. We are dedicated to making this program doable for a working professional. So all of our students, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, do work full-time. All of our students work. Just a couple people do have more part-time positions, but most of our students are full-time educators in different capacities. And so that's who we have in mind as we are developing the courses. We also have people who are full-time employees, and then also they're busy adults. So they have families that they may be taking care of, parents that they're helping with. And so it really is built for that person in mind. I will not pretend to say that it's easy, because it is a lot of work for sure, but it is doable with working full-time and managing your other responsibilities. We do tell our students, and this is a question I will pose to them so that you can check my information, but we do tell our students to plan on 20 hours of doctoral work a week. So as you're thinking about, is this the right time for me to do a doctoral program? That's something important to consider, because that's a part-time job, right? 20 hours a week on top of already busy lives. So we always talk to our students, and through the interviewing process, we talk about this, making sure that this is the right time for you to do this, and do you have the time in your life to take this on? Because we want you to be successful. We accept 20 students, and we fully expect 20 students to graduate 3 years later. That's our expectation. We don't weed people out. We want to support you to get across that graduation stage 3 years later. That's 100% our expectation. So thinking about, am I able to do this at this point in my life is an important consideration. So one of the things that's unique about our doctoral program, as I said, we're fully online, but we do find value in coming together as a community once a year. And so we have a summer institute, which is on campus. And our doctoral students, I'd say more than 90% of them stay in the dorms on campus. So it's that kind of going back to your college days and staying in the dorms. The nice thing It's only our students who are on campus, so you're staying in the dorms with other doctoral students, which is fun. And you don't have to stay in the dorms. Some people do stay in hotels or make other arrangements, which is fine. But it is kind of a unique experience to stay in the dorms with all of your, your colleagues. This year, our Summer Institute for May of 2025 will be June 23rd through June 27th. During this time, we do a couple different activities across the week. We have a mix of things. So we have time where you work across cohorts, so that cohorts and faculty are kind of all mixed up together. And we do things like we always read a book and have book discussions around the book that we read across the spring semester. We have talks where we'll have guest speakers come in and talk. Dr. Archer did an evening talk with us one time. Dr. Sparks did another one. We had some of our trailblazers come back and did a talk about their dissertations. And we do that as a mixed cohort group with faculty. Last summer, we also had a poster session where our doctoral students who had just graduated came and did a poster session. That's what some of these pictures are, doing the poster session, and then also some presentations. So we have some academic activities that are across cohort that are a time to get to know the amazing people in the program, not even just your cohort, but across the cohorts. We also across the week do a community conference day. And we think of this kind of as kind of two purposes. One, we do think about it as giving back to our community. So this is a conference focused on educators. And the whole idea is research to practice, and how do we, close that research to practice gap. And our doctoral students present. So students going into their second year prepare presentations across the spring semester, and then they present them at the Summer Institute Summer Conference. And then we also have invited guests that come. So this picture down here at the bottom, our faculty present as well as invited guests. And, it's really a wonderful day. It gives our doctoral students, kind of the second purpose, a chance to present and gain skills in presenting and collaborating. Many of our doctoral students are very expert presenters already, but it gives you a chance to collaborate with another doctoral student and present. Most people present in pairs or small groups, which is a really, wonderful experience as well. So it's held on campus and has been a real highlight of the Summer Institute. We always also have keynote speakers. And so here's just a list of the keynote speakers we've had in the past. This past summer, we had 2 keynote speakers. I'm not sure if we'll do that again or not. I think we might, because I think it worked pretty nicely. We had Marianne Wolf, and then Anita Archer also did a keynote for us. But we had Dr. Julie Washington and Dr. Elsa Cardenas-Hagen in past years. And then we have those keynote speakers speak to the full conference, and then they also do smaller sessions with our doctoral students. So it's a chance for our doctoral students to have some face time with these, leaders in our literacy world as well. And also during the Summer Institute, you have time in class. So you'll have classes with your cohort and faculty member where you'll do presentations or just have kind of a more traditional face-to-face class, which is a lovely opportunity to have some time with both faculty and your cohort together. And then we also tend to mix in a lot of fun, because the other purpose of coming together is really getting to know each other and, forming our community and having time to just get to know each other as humans and have those wonderful professional conversations, but then also some, fun together as a group. So we do think some of our fun in the past. Here's Sam Kastner doing 2 truths and a lie. So we did that where faculty had to tell 2 truths and a lie, and then everybody had to guess which the lie was. We have meals together on campus for most of our meals together. So this is a group of this is the Freedom Fighters, cohort 4, just having, time in the cafeteria together. And we also, one of the things that we've done from the beginning of our program, and it has just grown and grown and grown, is we have a mentor relationship set up. So somebody in a cohort above you will mentor you and welcome you to the program. And that has just turned into a really lovely thing throughout our program. And so we have time for mentors to get to know each other and mentees to get to know each other. And then last year, cohort 2, I don't know if this will become a tradition or not, but last year, cohort 2, the whole song and dance thing. It was pretty elaborate. We were pretty impressed, but that's them just having fun. So we do have a lot of, fun time as well as academic time. Cohorts do go out to dinner together a couple nights. And then in the past, we have played kickball, cohorts against cohorts. This past year, we changed our kickball tradition to a family game night tradition. That's our dean, Dr. Laura Saylor, who has been our umpire. People took it pretty darn seriously. Cohort 2 won this last year, and so they got a trophy. I'm not sure that Anita Archer was on cohort 2's team, but she claimed them when they won. So. But it's just fun together, and it was all language games. So, somebody described our Summer Institute as summer camp for literacy nerds, which we proudly take that title. So, all right. So this is a good point. You've been listening to me talk for a while. I want to throw these questions to our panelists. The first one, I'd love to hear from students. If you could talk about what is the workload like, and if you're able to feel like you're, balancing work, family, and doctoral work.
I'll go ahead and take this one if that's okay.
Yeah,
so I'm married and I have a little boy. He's 6 years old. So and I'm here. So it's doable and possible. And as Dr. Murdoch said, it is rigorous, and there are requirements in terms of time. So, if you're here, you're probably already in your brain trying to think about that. You just really have to compartmentalize your time in a way that works for you. My cohort, the Mavens, we don't all do it the same way, but we do it in a way that works for us. I'm an early morning person. There are some folks that are not. They're later in the evening type people. So you really just have to figure out a way that works for you and make sure that you're carving out those hours for yourself to stay healthy, and also for the doctoral work to make sure that you're keeping up with your assignments and things like that. So if anybody wants to add to that, that's a little bit of a start for us.
I'll go ahead and add a little bit. For me, it was very important to put myself on a schedule. I'm a very routine person. So making sure that I made myself a schedule that I was going to stick to every week really worked for me. So I work full time, and then I have to come home, and there's, the house things, dinner, all that kind of stuff. But at a certain time every night for 2 hours, I sat and I did my classwork, my schoolwork, whatever reading I had to do. So I'd give myself 2 hours every day, and then a larger part of like my Saturday, my free day, to sort of catch up on anything else that I needed to catch up on. But it's very important that you put yourself on a schedule. If your brain works that way, to sort of put it on your phone, put it on your calendar, and really stick to it. Otherwise, it will pile up, and you don't want that to happen.
I will also add to that. I am in cohort 3 with Nicole, and I have 3 children, 3 young children. I have a 10, an 8, and a 5-year-old. So it has been really important for me, like Mercedes said, that just developing that overall schedule is really important. I think having support, it doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse, but other people who are supportive to help. Sometimes when the load gets more than 20 hours a week, I think 20 hours is an average, but I think there's sometimes when you have some activities or assignments that maybe that's not in your wheelhouse, that you do spend a little bit more time navigating, that to have that level of support. So I think intentionality is a big part of it. And then stress management is going back to intentionality, because you can get in a really good groove just to work. And then you find that health may start waning, or, balance may start going. And so really just being intentional to say, you know what, I'm going to take a break and go outside and walk, or I'm going to do these things. But it is definitely a balance. I'm glad that Dr. Murdoch put that, because it is a balance. But it is not a forever balance. It is a in time balance. So I think if you can wrap your mind around what you do in that time, then it's very helpful.
Excellent. That's great. I think that was a great kind of overview of people's ways of approaching this. Very helpful. So the next question I'll just pose out to the group is, what would you say the best thing about being a doctoral student or a doctoral faculty member at MSJ is?
I'll say that I think our cohort model and the size of our cohorts is the best part about our program. We get so close, and we have not just the relationship on our studies, but we can reach out to our cohort and other cohorts for any questions that we have. And we are constantly saying, oh, does anybody have any research on this topic that's happening in my work life? So you just get to know these people, and they're going to be your support. They're going to be your shoulder that you can go to when you need personal, professional help. And I think that's really unique about our program.
I would agree with what Sarah said. There's just so much support, whether it's the faculty, the cohort model, and like she said, all of the other cohorts as well. I struggle with this question because there's so many great things about this program. I would have to surface the Summer Institute. And I have to be honest with you, when I first was looking into the program, that was one thing that I was maybe a little reluctant to maybe apply, because I was a little worried about, traveling to a new city, meeting, new people, just some anxieties that would exist. But I promise you, you will absolutely love it. I was hoping that I would maybe meet a few friends when I went there, and ended up coming home a part of a big family. So just know you will love the Summer Institute.
I would say all of those things. The cohort model, you're always going to have those friends that are, going through kind of the same program you are, that you can lean on. The faculty is exceptional. Like, you can lean on them at any time. They will go out of their way for you, especially in your dissertation work. It's amazing how much they do. I would just say the quality too. I never thought I would do a doctorate. Frankly, like, I thought it was a scary thing. And then hearing the mission tugged at my heartstrings, like, that's it, right? I want to do this work. But then just knowing that, this came from Dr. Murdoch's vision of this program that was such a need, that is going to be so impactful, and knowing that, and the quality of work and the quality of the program and what you're going to get out of it is amazing. So just, kind of being hesitant because my master's wasn't very strong, and I didn't feel like I came out of that prepared to help kiddos as much as I wanted to. But just, having these professors and faculty and your cohort mates that believe in you and believe so passionately in this work is huge too. It's just quality all around.
Thank you. That was excellent. So nice to hear too. We do pride ourselves on being supportive, and so we love when our students pull that out as something that they feel, because that's really important to all of us. What about something that is challenging about being in a doctoral program?
Okay, I'll start. I think this program attracts people who want to do a really good job and be successful at something. And they're usually people who have a history of being successful. And so I think sometimes it's hard to, have to say no to things. And so when you're in this program, you may find that you have to say no to serving on boards, to volunteering, to chairing the marching band at your child's school. So I think that's hard because, again, these are people who are very committed in lots of ways. So that would have been, something that maybe initially I didn't know would be a challenge, but it was, and that's probably the case for other people who are here tonight too.
I can speak to just, I was out of school maybe about 20 years before I started my doctoral work. And so a big challenge was getting back into an academic mind of writing and things that I did not remember. And so that was a really big challenge at the beginning, and almost kind of almost anxiety provoking to think, can I do this? Do I have the bandwidth? Do I have the cognitive ability to do it? And so really just extending, just going through and say, you know what, they believe in me. So just walking through it that way. But I think that was a big challenge to that question of whether or not I could be able to do it since it had been so long.
Yeah, Donnie, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that is something I hear probably the most out of anything when people are first starting the program. And in fact, the first year with our Trailblazers, we actually had 3 courses in that first semester, and we learned very quickly from them that was too much. And part of it was exactly what Donnie was talking about, was most people, there was a gap between their master's degree and doing the doctoral program. And it is, as Jamie said, we attract really conscientious, hardworking people. And what I found, because I teach the first class with Pam Kastner, is, we expect this, and our students are doing like this, and that's lovely, but that's not sustainable in a doctoral program. So part of that first class, I think, is also just calibrating you, right? Like, what is enough? And I hear kind of connected to that is like, oh my gosh, I kind of want to stay there and go deeper and go deeper and deeper. And you have to manage it all, right? You have to get your assignments done and move on to the next thing and come back to that another time. But I hear that a lot from our students, just finding that right amount, like not doing 29 hours a week of work, maybe 1 week because you've got a big project. But you do have to kind of find your own groove, and that takes a little bit of time. So yeah. Anything else about that people wanted to make sure to add? Because I hear this question a lot from prospective students in terms of the managing of it all. All right. So I think each person who spoke talked about the best thing about our doctoral program is that cohort model and the students that we attract. We are so fortunate that we attract amazing people. You all get to learn from each other, and we get to learn from you. So recently for our accreditation, I did a completer survey with our Trailblazers who just graduated, and not surprising, on the scale of 1 to 5, 5 being exceptional, how do you rate the cohort model? We all said, a 5. I think that is clearly a takeaway. And I think, you create people that you have hopefully for the rest of your career as go-to. I think Sarah said, you have a question and you can put it out there to your cohort and even the broader cohorts, and you can get answers, reliable, strong answers, which is wonderful. The other thing from our completer survey that I just wanted to pull out is, everyone said that they would recommend our program to others. So if this is a right match for you, I think you will find that you will be supported and find your good people within our program. So let's talk a little bit about tuition scholarships, which we are just so fortunate to have a funder that came to us a couple of years ago and really believes in our work and believes in the potential of all of our amazing doctoral students, that they keep increasing the tuition scholarship that they're providing. So starting May of 2025, all doctoral students, including current doctoral students, will get a tuition scholarship of 80% of your tuition being covered. And that's for every single accepted student. So every single accepted student, and this will be inputted for our cohorts 3 and 4 as well, you will get 80% of your tuition. The current tuition was $10,000 each year, which is, I think, about 65% of your tuition, maybe 70%. So they upped it even a little bit more for the new cohort and our continuing cohorts. Additionally, we know that even with this generous scholarship, for some people, that's still not making it possible for you to attend our program. And so we do now have also a pool of full scholarships that are need-based. So getting into the program, of course, is competitive and, great academic skills. But if you also have a demonstrated need, we now have funding to cover full tuition for some students. So that's a really wonderful thing, because we wanted to remove any barriers that might be preventing people from being able to do the doctoral program. So on our website, you can get our current tuition rate. And I just have on this slide just to give you kind of a quick rundown of what I'm talking about in terms of tuition. Our doctoral tuition rate is $815 per credit. We have a total of 60 credits. And so the total tuition would be $48,900, that's a big number. That's across all 3 years, just to be clear. And so if you get 80% off, you get roughly $39,000 off, and you end up paying under $10,000 for your doctoral program across 3 years. So that's, again, very generous scholarship. That is every accepted student. In addition, beyond tuition, to be making sure everything is out there and clear, we do have, of course, costs that you purchase books for. So there's a book fee, not fee, but you will purchase books for your courses. That's a cost to consider. And then we do have a graduate fee at the university, which is about $300 per year, and it's divided between fall and spring semesters where you're charged. And again, our rate sheet is on our website as well. The other scholarship I wanted to mention, because again, we know when we have these information sessions, sometimes people are trying to decide between, is the doctoral program right for me, or maybe the graduate program is right for me, or do I need to do the Reading Science certificate, which is our prerequisite courses within a certificate, before I do the doctoral program, because I need those foundational courses first. So we also do now, thanks to our very generous funder, have certificate scholarships that cover 100% of your tuition. Again, that is a competitive needs-based scholarship, but that is another thing to consider if that's of interest to you. With our needs-based scholarships, so the 100% scholarship in the doctoral program or the full scholarship in the Reading Science certificate program, you do have to complete a FAFSA form, because that's how we understand the need in a fair way. And so you do need to complete a FAFSA form. So if you are interested in either the Reading Science certificate and you're going down that path hoping to get a scholarship, be sure you fill out the FAFSA. Same thing for the doctoral program if you're interested in the full scholarship. For the 80% scholarship, you do not need to fill out a FAFSA, because that is not need-based. That's just all accepted students. I know there's some confusion about that, because it's kind of a two-tier scholarship. Other things that we are excited to be able to provide, thanks to our funder, we are, as you saw, able to bring in some wonderful people to work with our students and present at the conference, but then also work with our students. Across the year, we also do kind of a webinar series where we've had amazing people in the field of reading science come and speak with our students. And that is all also thanks to our private funder that we are able to bring those people in. We are also starting a more formal way of helping our current doctoral students get teaching experience in the higher ed level. So kind of a way to build your resume, get some experience. So we're able to provide some paid teaching assistant work. Can start after you take our higher education course in your second year. And then we also are able to provide stipends for our students to go to national conferences. So you will, again, this is for every student, you will get $1,500 the stipend to attend a conference, and you can get up to 2 of those. So you can attend up to 2 conferences in your 3 years with us with that funding support. And it's really wonderful to be able to have another opportunity to connect together I know a lot of us are going to the Reading League conference, and we're excited to, to hang out together and go to sessions and chat about it. And then we always do a debrief as a program for all of these conferences, so we can kind of come back together as a group on Zoom and just kind of say, hey, what sessions did you go to? What did you learn? And that kind of thing. So that's another really wonderful, financial supported piece that we can help with our students attending conferences. A couple other things to know about our program in terms of program requirements. The first is, and you do this in your very first semester, or hopefully some people might even already have this. I know with our students, it's probably about half and half. So the K. Perry test, which is the test that the International Dyslexia Association requires as part of their certificate through theory. So that is required in our program, and that's required at the very beginning of it. Some people even take care of it the spring or summer before they begin. But that is a requirement that has to be done by your fall semester in your first year. At the end of your second year, you have a program portfolio. We do that instead of qualifying exams. So in order to advance to doctoral candidacy, you will have to pass your program portfolio at the end of your second year. And as you already heard, we do have a dissertation in our program that you do across your third year, and that does end with an oral defense of your dissertation. So that's at the end of the program. So I'm going to ask our students to talk about dissertation stuff in just a minute, but just to give you a little overview of what the dissertation involves. So all students will complete a dissertation and defend it. Each student, you choose your dissertation chair, and that dissertation chair is someone who will guide your research, help you develop it, and then guide it as you are implementing it and writing it up. You also choose with the support of your chair, you choose a committee member. Every now and then we'll even have 2 committee members, and that's your group that gives you support across your dissertation work. That's the group that you defend your dissertation to. And, again, those are the people who will support you as you get your dissertation done. And you begin to formally work on your dissertation at the beginning of your second year. During the Summer Institute, as you start your second year, we begin getting you ready to think about your dissertation, think about your topics, do some preliminary activities that set you on your path to your dissertation. Our research and statistics series, especially in your second year, also get you ready to think about design and what kind of research design you're using, and then go a little deeper into the research design that you will be using in the second part of your second year and into the summer of your second year. The other really fortunate funding piece that we have is, thanks to Dr. Anita Archer, we also have a dissertation fund that helps support students in their dissertation year. So this funding can be used for things like maybe you're doing an intervention and you need to buy the intervention materials, or buy, books or manipulatives. I know for Mercedes' dissertation, she had to buy some little microphones because we're recording the assessments, so a second person can do reliability of those scoring of the assessments. So thanks to this fund, you're able to get money to be able to purchase those things. And so we're very grateful to Anita for all of her support of the program. And this is just one of her very formal ways that she supports the program. All right, so this next question, I think, is probably my second biggest one that I get from interested students. There seems to be a little bit of worry maybe about the dissertation. So can you, first of all, and just like, what you do for your dissertation. So maybe I'll pick on people for this, if that's okay. So, and I'll pick on you intentionally so you can kind of see where people are in the program. So maybe I'll start with a trailblazer. Renata, can you tell us a little bit about your dissertation and also just kind of how you chose your topic too?
Yes. So I know everyone has a different experience. Some people come in with an idea. Some people have sort of an area they're interested in, and some have no idea. But I did come in with an idea, and Dr. Murdoch really helped me clarify it. As a literacy coach over the years, I'd worked very closely with principals, everything assessment data, MTSS, and I was very concerned. I started realizing that none of this could work without principals having a very solid understanding of at least the basics of literacy and data analysis and all those components of MTSS. So that was very dear to my heart. So that's what my dissertation focused on. I also work in all of my career, I've worked in Brooklyn, New York, and I've been supporting 100% mostly Black principals. So as I started looking at the research, there was a lot that had been, not a lot, a bit that had been done to check on this topic as it related to principals. But when I looked at the data, it was mostly only one demographic, one group, which was white principals. So my research topic was an investigation into Black principals and self-efficacy for instructional leadership and their experiences with MTSS and literacy. So that was in the form of a survey, like a 57-item survey, from which I did some correlations to see if there were relations between some of the information that I gathered. So it was very interesting. There's a lot. I'm not going to talk all night about it, but it was very interesting, and it did line up with research that had been done previously. And to just let everyone know, yes, all of our principals across the nation need support with accurate information, the administrator preparation programs. We need to take a look at those. And that was the purpose of my study, to just turn our heads and attention to that, just like we pay attention to teacher preparation.
Excellent. Thanks, Renata. So Renata did a nice survey design. Tamara, can you maybe just tell us what your topic was in your research design?
Sure. I had a slight obsession with sound spelling walls because I was using them in my classroom, but I knew there was a wide variety of definition and application in the field for them, and some misunderstandings around how they were used. So I did a tool development. And so I developed a tool that would measure teachers' knowledge and application of sound spelling walls in the classroom, in hopes that it was really important to me to do something that could be applicable to teachers in the field, because I was a classroom teacher when I started. And so the hope was that coaches and future research could be done using that tool to kind of isolate variables and kind of see and do some more digging into sound spelling walls to give us some evidence of their awesomeness.
Awesome. So that's another thing that we see a lot of our students, because they are practitioners, they do something that they see a need and they fill that need with a tool. And so that's another great example. Mercedes, can I ask you, so Mercedes is deep in it right now. Can you describe just a little bit about, because Mercedes is doing an intervention. So can you describe your dissertation?
Sure. So I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to do my dissertation around the little ones. Preschool, kindergarten. As a kindergarten teacher, the little ones have my heart. They always have, they always will. And then as a dual language teacher, it's very important to me to continue to learn more about multilingual learners. So taking all of those loves and putting them all together, I have the joy really and the honor to be able to have this intervention study for preschoolers. And the thing is too, I know some people I have asked, like, what if I don't have access to students, or, if I want to do a dissertation, on an intervention, how does that work? So I'm in Brooklyn, New York, but the intervention is not taking place in Brooklyn, New York. It is because of the help and support of the wonderful MSJ faculty and Dr. Murdoch, right? That my intervention is being done in Ohio, in Cincinnati. So it's really great that we have all the support and outside people that are doing the intervention. I have people doing assessments for me. I get the recordings. Dr. Murdoch talked about getting the recorders and having, the assessments being recorded, and I get to listen on my part in Brooklyn, right? And it's just really, really wonderful work. It's deep work, and it's good work, and it's necessary work, especially for the, when you have that love of preschool and dual language and learners. It's really important to try to find something that, that you want to work with, that you have your, that has your heart, and that you're, more interested in learning more about. So it's been really great. Not easy, but great.
And I just noticed your t-shirt. That is like a perfect t-shirt for somebody working on their dissertation.
Oh, there you go. I had a data meeting today, so I had to go and show them that it is important, right? To make sure that you follow that data.
Thanks, Mercedes. Tiffany, can you just quickly tell us what your topic is? Because it's another unique one that is an implementation study.
Sure. So I'm actually doing a bit of an extension of the wonderful Dr. Peevler's work, who is on here. So I am using some of her brilliant procedures and things that she did, and I am tailoring that to use with families in a home tutoring situation to kind of start to build that collaboration piece, because I think that's a piece we kind of need to figure out. So I kind of got here, my own daughter has dyslexia, and likely my third kiddo too. We're kind of in the midst of that. So just being that mom, but also that educator perspective, drew me to that, intersection of, we need both of those pieces. Those are so important. I think families have done so much to advocate for better instruction and literacy movement too. So that's where I am.
Awesome. And we're seeing a lot of that. Like, it's so wonderful having the trailblazers who are so generous with sharing their ideas. And then the game changers, I'm sure, will do the same thing for the mavens. And there's some neat kind of piggybacking on things that were learned and things that are still kind of work that could be done, which is great.
Can I shout out to Michaela on here too, because she's supporting my research. So she's helping, which was awesome, because we had the opportunity to support and be a research assistant for some of the cohort 1 friends. And so it's just lovely to have that other support from them too. Sorry. Thank you.
No, I'm so glad you said that, Tiffany, because yeah, you're right. That's another really wonderful thing that's happened is students in cohorts that aren't doing their dissertation are research assistants, and we have lots of opportunities for people to do that. Actually, many people on this group I know are helping on dissertations, which is wonderful. I think Nicole's helping Mercedes, right? Yeah. So so that's wonderful, and it's great because you kind of get a little inkling into the process and into some of the data collection techniques. So there's a lot of give and take. So yeah, that's been a really nice thing that's developed in our program. All right, Nicole and Donnie, I'm not going to make you say much, but can you just say what your topic is? Because they're in the formulating stage. So probably when I say the word dissertation, their stomach kind of ties up a little tiny bit, because they're in the hard part of they have good ideas, but it's, what exactly is this going to look like? So I'll pick on Donnie first. Donnie, do you want to share what you're thinking?
Yes, perfect. So given my love for preschoolers and my advisor is Dr. Murdoch, we just talked about the need for preschool curriculum, kind of like an assessment. How do we assess and know that preschool curricula is, headed in the right direction? And so that seems to be where I am headed, and I'm super excited about it. Just wanting to start these little itty bitties off very nicely and support the teachers, right? Because that's what it's all about at that point. They need the right materials in their hands.
Awesome. Wonderful. Nicole?
So I'm a little less organized than Donnie, which I hope makes people feel better, because you get a lot of support.
It's okay. That's where you should be. You're fine.
You get a lot of support and help. I have a lot of ideas around language, and right now where I'm sitting is helping teachers understand the nuances of language and how they can use translanguaging and linguistic connections to help their students learn English. So that's what I'm thinking about at this point, but there's a lot of tiny little corners that you can turn with a topic. So nothing is set. It's just something that I'm thinking about, and it might look a little different, but it will be around language in some capacity. So I think that's, yeah.
Yeah. And it's awesome because Nicole's supporting Mercedes' dissertation, so she's, was looking at language as well. Yeah, so great. And I'm not even gonna put Michaela and Jim on the spot yet. Next year.
Amy, can I just throw in one
Yeah,
quick
please.
thing? So when I was thinking about whether I was going to apply or not, there was this just little twinge of imposter syndrome, and I was a little bit intimidated by the amazing people that I knew were going to be applying, and I didn't know that I probably knew very little about what a dissertation was and what it really meant. And so I just want to shout out and say, like, don't be intimidated by that process, because just like Nicole said, they really scaffold you through understanding what all the steps are and how to get there and what that end product should look like. So don't be intimidated by it. If you're passionate about it, there's just such a good support system, even with the like librarians and all of the writing center and all the wonderful things. So just wanted to mention that.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Tambra, because you're right. If you haven't, until you actually do a dissertation, you don't know what a dissertation is. In fact, I think in our very first class with the Trailblazers, that formally kicked off the dissertation, somebody asked, they said, Amy, I don't even know what a dissertation is. I said, well, you will after this class. And that's okay. The thing I love and why I like to take some time for people to share their ideas is because I love that our students are in the field and their dissertations are because they see a need. I think every single person who spoke, and I'll just tell you, every single person who does a dissertation in our group is like that. It's, I see a need, and what a perfect group of people to think about a research project to fill the need, because you are practitioners and that's what we're looking for. And so we are just, I mean, I know Kelly feels this way too. We are always just so excited when we get to work with you, because you guys have all the good, field-based knowledge of, what are the kinds of things we need. As Donnie said, like, there's not a preschool curriculum review guide. There's tons for the older grades, but not for the little ones. But we know how important that is, and she saw that need because she's in it, So, and we help you figure out how you take that idea and put it into a project. But your ideas are just amazing, and it's so much fun to do that work. All right, well, let's talk about the application process. So this is pretty straightforward stuff. It's all on our website. Allison will become your best friend. She's amazing. We're so fortunate to get to work with Allison. So I'm going to take a second and let Allison just kind of tell you about the first steps in applying to the program.
Sure. So you would start your application at the website below. It will step you through. So the first part is you fill out all of your personal information, and then once you submit, there's a checklist of items that are required. So this is really nice because it keeps everybody on task. You'll need to order transcripts, submit references, which we do require 3 professional references. Only 1 is sent a survey, and the other 2 will be contacted by the admission committee. And then everything else is there outlined for you to either complete a form or upload documents. So, and if you have any questions along the way, I'm available. It's usually easier over email right now, just because of the number of applications and questions that we have coming in. But I'm available, and if we need to set up meetings outside of this info session, I'm happy to do so.
That's great. Yeah, Allison is very, very great at being able to answer your questions. So let's talk about the biggest question we get in terms of the application is the prerequisite question. And it's probably our least favorite question, if I can speak for Allison and myself and Jamie, who helps with this stuff. Because here's the big idea with the prerequisites. We want to make sure you have the foundational knowledge around the science of reading, what evidence-based implementation of the science of reading looks like. Like, how do you teach a good phonics lesson? How do I teach a comprehension lesson? So our program, our doctoral program, assumes that you know that part of it, because we like to, go further than that and talk about the leadership and the research and all that good stuff. So the big idea with the prerequisites is not that you have done our exact 5 courses, but that you have covered that content knowledge, either through formal coursework or through trainings that you've done, professional work that you've done. And so that's why we have that prerequisite form that lists our courses and tells you what happens in our course. but then also the specific objectives and things that are covered in our course. So you can get that prerequisite form on our website, take a look at it. What Allison and I tell people is just do the best job you can filling it out. Sometimes people, we have a little space at the bottom where you can write a little narrative, because it's not just one thing that counts for this. It's I've done this, 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 and this. And we want that information because we don't want anybody to have to do things that you already know. But the flip side of that is we want you prepared to be able to do what the doctoral program sets you up to do. Probably the biggest question I get, so yeah, here's an example of, for the psychology of reading, the key content and objectives. Probably the biggest question I get, because in our reading science certificate program, we use Orton Gillingham for our structured literacy practicum. You do not have to have Orton Gillingham. You can have a different structured literacy experience, which is completely fine. Like we had a student who had done training and implemented corrective reading for a number of years, and that's a wonderful structured literacy program. And we said, absolutely, that counts. And so that's really what we're looking for with that course, is that you have experience implementing a structured literacy program. If it's Orton Gillingham, that's easy because we know that one, but lots of other things have counted as well. We're really, again, looking for a deep knowledge of those things at the level that we do in our graduate program. Unfortunately, because of our volume and the amount of time it takes to review this, we cannot review prerequisites ahead of time, because it's really not just one thing. It's not as simple as looking at your prerequisite form. Unless you went through our program or another IDA accredited program, it's just not that simple. So it usually looks like this. We interview you, we talk to you in the interview, we ask questions that help us understand where it is. And then if you're accepted, we have conversations. And there's people on this call that I had conversations with that I said, hey, I think you might need this, this, and this. And sometimes they say, you're right. I'm glad for the opportunity to do it. And sometimes they say, well, actually, Amy, can we talk about this one? I've done this, this, and this. And then sometimes I'll even bring in another faculty member. And then we'll say, oh, you're right. You don't need to do that. So just know it's a conversation, and it's about setting you up in the strongest way possible. But unfortunately, we really can't do that until we look at your full application, have that interview, have all the information. Then we're in the best place to say, okay, Tiffany needs this, this, and this. Mercedes needs this, and so forth. So I know that's never a very satisfying answer for a prospective student, because you want to know, and I get it. So I think the best thing for you to do is reflect on your own practice and trainings and look at our objectives and our courses. Typically, I think people kind of know I covered that or I didn't. And unfortunately, the state of reading education right now is, it's not just that you have a master's degree in reading. It should be. It should be. You have a master's degree and you should be able to go on to a doctorate. But unfortunately, far too many reading programs are not focused on the science of reading, and so will not set you up well for our program. So my best advice is take a look at that prerequisite form, do a good job filling that out, and just know that we look at that form with your whole application, and then in the interview, we are asking specific questions that help us understand that further. And then sometimes I even have to call you and say, okay, here's what I'm thinking, let's chat about this. And that's kind of how it's gone in the past. So as I said, our intent with the prerequisites is not to make you do things again. We hope most of our students don't need the prerequisites. So we really want to make sure you're set up well. If you do need more than 2 prerequisites, you would not be able to be accepted into the May 2025 program cohort for the doctoral program. You can, if you just need 1 or 2 prerequisites, you can take care of those across the spring semester and be ready to start in the May cohort. And we definitely have probably about half of our accepted students have to take 1 or 2 prerequisite courses, and they get that done. And I'm going to throw that question out to this group in just a second. But if you know you need all 5, we would encourage you to consider our reading science certificate and applying in 2026 instead of 2025. But I know sometimes people aren't sure, and so they actually apply in both programs, and that's fine. We understand that. And sometimes people don't get accepted, but then they jump right into the reading science certificate because they know they needed that, but they wanted to look, get through with somebody. I'm going to talk about the timeline, and then I am going to ask a couple questions about prerequisites to our panel as well. So, timeline for the application. So, our application, as you probably know if you're coming to this information session, is open. And it will close November 1st. So, our deadline is November 1st. And we say that we have a second round. We have not needed that second round in the past. So if you really want to get into May of 2025, I would ignore the second part of that slide because we have not yet used it. Now, you never know, we might use it. We're looking for the right match for sure. But our goal is to let you know by mid-December if you're admitted or not. That gives you time. If you do need prerequisites, our spring semester starts the second week of January. So it's a quick turnaround, but it does allow time for people to jump into a prerequisite if they need it. The prerequisite that most of our students need is in the second part of our fall semester, which starts like in early March. So that tends to be a nice turnaround time. So that's kind of as quick as we can do it too. Our application process, our admissions process, we have a team of faculty members who look at everybody's application. We do interviews, so we schedule interviews across November. And then everybody on the admission team watches, which is made up of our faculty, watches everybody's video, and then we all get together and talk about the admissions process. And so we really feel strongly that it's helpful to have multiple perspectives. And so there's 3 or 4 faculty members. In the past, it's always been 4 faculty members who get together and really review everybody's application. All right, so a couple of questions I wanted to pose to our panel again. Actually, before I do the first one, I'm going to switch the order. Since we just talked about prerequisites, would anybody be willing to share their kind of prerequisite story and how that worked out for you?
I can share.
Thanks,
I took one prerequisite before I started. And to Donnie's point, I was also out of my master's for a little while. It was a great on-ramp to getting myself back into that academic mode. And it's a graduate level course still, so it is very rigorous. It helped me to think about my time management and getting my life in order to be able to set aside the time. So I think it was really helpful. And it also provided that opportunity to get to know some of the people in my cohort at the beginning, because there were a few of us doing it together. So we were able to start to build those relationships early too.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And I will tell you that even though there are courses that are in our graduate program, we run sections just for the doctoral students. So to Sarah's point, you do get to know your cohort better. So it might only be 8 people in your class, but we do that intentionally because we want to, and we also want to get to know you guys better. So it is kind of a nice little, very small class with just your doctoral students and a professor. Thanks, Sarah. Anybody else want to share their experience?
So I actually applied for cohort 1, and then obviously lots of applicants, very rigorous. That group is awesome, right? But so then I had a conversation with Dr. Murdoch. I mean, she just was able to, call and talk through things after that interview. And so I ended up taking all 5 of the core courses, even though I didn't need, all the prerequisites, but I went ahead and did the reading science certificate. And then I applied for cohort 2 the next year. And same kinds of things. It prepared me. I have no regrets. Like, all the information and everything we did was amazing. I learned so much new that I didn't before. The experience was great, and it prepared me and set me up for success, definitely.
Tiffany, I'm so glad that you shared that, because we do get people who apply one time and then they're fabulous, but they just need some more background. And so Tiffany is actually one we talk about because Tambra, I think you were on her interview, weren't you, with me? Wasn't it you and me? Yeah. So after she did it and she left, we were both like blown away by her. And then I told Tambra, I was like, Tambra, she actually applied last year. And she's like, why didn't you accept her last year? I was like, well, she's even better this year. So I think that's important to know. And we absolutely do have people who applied the first time. They needed to do some additional things. They did those things. They came back and applied, and they had a different application. I would encourage you, if you're in that boat, to think about, is my application different? Because Tiffany did, she did the courses, she did some leadership thing. She like, it was a very different application. She was always a lovely, wonderful human, as all of our applicants are. But just in terms of her knowledge development, as well as her leadership development, she really took it to heart, like, what were the things I was missing, and did those things. Because sometimes we have people who reapply, and honestly, it's the same application. And our competitiveness has stayed the same. I would say our quality of students has stayed the same from cohort 1 through cohort 4. And so I wouldn't bank on just having an easier applicant pool the next year. I don't see that happening for us. And so think about, is my application different? If it is, please do reapply. We love that. And like I said, we were so excited when Tiffany came back to us, and she's a fabulous doctoral student. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Yeah. That's fun that Tambra is on this call too. I remember that vividly. And when we do the interviews, we always include, one of our leadership opportunities is for students to interview with a faculty member. So you might have Jim or Michaela, because we do it, students in their finishing their first year, as an opportunity for them, which is wonderful because we are looking for people who are great people doing great things in the field, but also would make a good cohort member, because we are very collaborative. And so we really appreciate having that student perspective in the interview process as well. So just know, if you get invited for an interview, it'll be a faculty member and a current doctoral student. And it's nice to hear them answer your questions as well, because we'll ask you questions, but we'll also give you a chance to ask us questions. So my next question is, what do people typically do in terms of after this? Kind of like, why did you decide to do a doctoral program in terms of your next steps in your career?
I can talk about that. Oh, sorry, Tambra, you go ahead. Okay. I wasn't looking for a career change. I was already where I wanted to be, but I wanted to know how to look at things more critically. I needed to understand how to be a better researcher and consumer of research myself. So that's really, I wasn't intending on a career change. I know a lot of people who come into this program, come into the program because it really is a way to elevate yourself in a current position, or to maybe step outside of a role that you have. And that definitely did happen for the Trailblazers. There are people who have moved into new leadership positions. Opportunities started to present themselves even during the program before graduation for a lot of the students in the program. So I would say everyone's reason for doing it is a little different, and the outcome is definitely different too. But I would say people are where they want to be. And I feel like the program really helped make that possible for a lot of them.
And we do have, just piggybacking off of Jamie for a second, because Jamie was a faculty member at Mount St. Joseph. And well, actually, she started in a different position, but very quickly came to Mount St. Joseph as a clinical faculty member. And we actually have a lot of faculty members who don't yet have their doctorate. And so they're at an instructional level in the university. And so getting your doctorate as a faculty member, now she's on a tenure track, and she's going to lead dissertations and have, a stronger career in higher ed in terms of opportunities within that position. And I know we do have a lot of people like that, which we love, because they provide a lot of great perspective on, preparing teachers. Tambra, did you have something as well?
I was just going to say that I started out as I was a classroom teacher and then a Title I reading specialist, and I did not have any desire to become a principal or an admin in any kind of district, but I still wanted to keep learning. And so when Mount St. Joseph kind of presented itself as an option for, I just thought, oh my goodness, this is the one, right? This is the program that I've been waiting for. And I didn't necessarily want to switch positions, but when we had the experience of doing the teaching assistant for one of the grad classes, I absolutely fell in love with it, just fell in love with it. And so I have the great honor of continuing with Mount St. Joseph now, but I also had the opportunity to move from a classroom teacher to work for Patton, the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, under the amazing leadership of our state lead at the time, Pam Kastner, which was such an honor. But so I didn't intend to switch jobs, but that teaching assistant, it really does open opportunities for you to experience different things in the science of reading that you may not have had the opportunity to do before. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's great.
I'll say one thing too, Dr. Murdoch. I'm a kindergarten teacher, just like Mercedes, for my entire career. And then I was a literacy coach. It wasn't in my mind to teach higher ed. So when I came in, when I did my interview, I think Dr. Murdoch and Dr. Stoller asked me about it, and I was like, oh no, I don't know about that. But over the course of the program, they transformed me, and that's the first thing that I was able to do. You know, people see in you what you don't know that you have. And so I'm having a great time with my first, second course that I'm going to teach now. So glad for that. And in my own job also, just like Dr. Peevler said, it opens a lot to you. I work in, just like Mercedes, in one of the most gigantic school systems in our country. And I work with a wonderful superintendent, but now I have all the freedoms to do and help decision making and all the things that all of us want to do, to just put the right information in the ears of our educators. So, yep, so that's it.
You know how happy that makes me, Dr. Archie? Because she was like, we were like, Stephanie and I are both like, no, she's gonna be a professor. That's great. I love it. And you don't have to be a professor, although we really want you to at least adjunct or do something to shape teacher prep, because that is so important to make sure our teachers have the right information as they're out there working with our children. So I just want to give an ending moment to just open it up to say, if there's anybody on the panel who would like to talk to people who might be considering, of course, we know you have other options for a doctoral program. So if you could talk about why you think MSJ might be a good match if people are looking for a doctoral program focused on the science of reading. And faculty can join in too. It doesn't have, oh, Pam or Michaela, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, and I wanted to say it earlier, one of the best things with this program is, one, the quality of what we're learning. We are going by the science. We are looking into research. We're trying to expand the research with the program, but also the openness to learning. I know I came into the program with a lot less experience than some of my cohort members. And so that was something I was really nervous about, not, I guess, just knowing as much. And the learning environment went away very quickly. It's a very supportive program, and you start to feel like, I got this. Okay, I'm learning, I can do this. So yeah.
Thank you.
I might just to say, as I think I have it, every one of these is how MSJ is just an incredible culture and climate. I don't think there's any doctoral program out there like this in terms of the support and the collegiality with students, how much we respect and admire our students, learn with our students, and how much the faculty works together. And the culture and climate that Dr. Murdoch has created is bar none. And of course, Dr. Saylor too. It's just an incredible place to learn. So I feel quite honored to be a part of it, but it's a wonderful environment for both faculty and for students.
Thanks, Pam.
I'd like to say that, you know, before even applying here to MSJ, you know, you look at other programs, you think about what you want to do, and a lot of the programs, a lot of the students that I had spoken to, they were sort of on their own, right? It was like a singular study when they're doing this coursework, but they are really like their own little world, and they were by themselves trying to figure out their way through a doctoral program. And this is the opposite of that, right? I've never felt, we keep using that word support. I've never felt more supported with the cohorts, with the faculty. I mean, I sometimes I even just having a question, I know that I can pick up the phone, I can text anyone, including Dr. Murdoch, and that she'll always send a message back, and she'll always, you know, answer my question, as silly as the question might be, like, are we meeting today? You know, whatever it is. But that I am not alone, and that I am fully supported by the faculty, by my cohorts, who have become more than friends at this point, right? And that's really important, because, you know, working through something as difficult as a doctorate and feeling like you're doing it on your own can make it really difficult to be able to accomplish. And this is totally the opposite of that.
Thank you, Mercedes.
I'll jump in and say that for me, it was the social justice piece. When I looked at other programs and found Mount St. Joseph, my heart really pulled me to the community of folks that really believe that every child deserves to learn how to read. And that's it. And that's what we're here for. And so I feel like that's just something that resonates throughout all of our work, each and every day, throughout every face that we see. Every child deserves to learn how to read. And that's why I applied to MSJ.
That's a great ending. Yes, I think for all of us, that's what it's about. And I think we pick people that we know share our mission. That's at the heart of it. Sometimes people ask me about, you know, how do I do my best interview? And I think your best interview is sharing your passion and connection to our mission and our work, which was beautifully summed up by Nicole and Mercedes and Sarah, everyone. For me, the why MSJ in terms of the doctoral program, because I've had the great fortune of working at MSJ for 16 years now. And the doctoral program, creating it scared the heck out of me. And I second guessed myself all the time. And, you know, when I think of my why, I also think about these amazing people that I get to work with, both the faculty, but also our students. And I know, you know, doing this program for the Trailblazers was so hard when we were first creating it. And I would talk to my colleagues, Beth and Stephanie and Pam, and we didn't want to let them down because they were so amazing. And we were like, we need to do this so that they can continue doing the amazing things that they're doing. And we feel that about every single one of our cohorts now. So we just feel so fortunate as a faculty to have the honor, as Pam said, to get to work with you as doctoral students who are making the real changes in our country, in our districts, and with our kids, because you guys are the change makers, right? You are the ones who are actually in the field, taking what we are working on together and making it into actionable steps that change lives. So Nicole, you always get me going at the end. I know, right? So thank you all for spending some time with us. We know you have a lot of choices out there for doctoral programs, and if we sound like a good match for you, we are excited to see your applications and to work with you through the admissions process. So thank you so much for your attention and your time with us this evening. And thank you so much to our doctoral students and our faculty for giving some of your time to help explain our program. So thank you all. Have a good night. Take care.